What's going on, guys? I just finished. Well, I'm in the middle of Phase 3 right now, but I finished Phase 2 just the other day, and I kind of want to do a little big recap because rewatching a lot of the Phase 2 movies, I had a couple of thoughts, pretty much about all of them. Essentially, just kind of rounding out Phase 2 because, much like with Phase 1, the benefit of hindsight, seeing the future movies, and even again Captain Marvel, you kind of have an understanding of how things shape the way it is, and you kind of have that like, oh my god, I can't, you kind of read it where it goes and stuff. Like I said, Endgame comes out in a few days, um, so figured I'd break it down. Point number one. So Thor: Dark World is not a rewatchable movie, in the sense that the movie itself is not really engaging. There are some moments, a lot of exposition. It's pretty much like Iron Man 2, except Iron Man 2 had certain things that at least grabbed your attention and kept you engaged to a point. But with Thor Dark World, I never felt like I was engaged. While the story was fine, a lot of the elements with the story just didn't grab me. Like Malekith, as much as he could have been a fine villain, especially if you read the comics and stuff, he just didn't grab me. The MacGuffin with the ether was just Thor himself was fine. The story surrounding his family and all the tragedy, his mom died and all that stuff was fine. It's just the story itself didn't really keep you engaged. And even though Jane came back, we got the stuff with um, Dr. Selvig. He's losing his mind and stuff, and then he kind of find out, oh, I'm not crazy anymore. It's just the overall movie isn't. I wouldn't necessarily recommend as rewatchable and stuff. Uh, so for me, that movie was one of those like it's there, it existed, it had its moments, but overall it's very forgettable in the grand scheme of the MCU. Despite, like I said before, Odin establishing the Infinity Stones, it's like okay, whatever. It's just background noise. Flip side to that, Iron Man 3. Now, Iron Man 3 is interesting because I enjoyed that movie. I love that movie. Loved the movie when it came out. Despite everybody giving it shit because of the Mandarin twist and stuff, I still enjoyed it for the most part. I know point, this is point number two. But so on one hand, a lot of people did not like the aspect of Tony not being in the suit as much. And I thought that was actually pretty cool in the aspect of I think the movie was emphasizing that Tony is more than just the armor. He can be the all thinking, I could think myself out of this situation character, and it was nice to see him kind of get through the movie on his wits and his intelligence and such. Yeah, when he was in the armor, some comedic moments is Shane Black. You want to get those comedic moments, but for the most part, like I said, the comedy is hit and miss depending on how it is. It didn't bother me, but again, I understand why people kind of like. Other side to it, the Mandarin the Mandarin twist, so to speak. So here's my thing with that. I was fine with the twist. Now here's the kicker to that though. Despite me being fine with the twist because of their whole thing of like the twist of the Mandarin and the problematic aspect of it, I can understand and I get it. Flip side, Ben Kingsley did such a good job pre before the twist in the movie as Mandarin that I kind of sit back like that would be interesting if they kept that up throughout the whole movie and he plays a part throughout the whole movie and you still keep your Killian aspect of it because again he's a corporate villain but I like how his thing was just cut and dry. I'm just trying to get this extremist thing on the black market so I can make this money, and I think that would have tied in pretty good to if you kept the Ben Kingsley Mandarin aspect intact, and then instead of it being a twist, he actually is the Mandarin and all that stuff, and kept that intact. And it would have been dope if he was in the finale in some sort of way, and he just kind of backs out and lets Killian do all the work for him and stuff. That would have been dope, but they didn't go in that direction, and then we get the one shot with the real Mandarin kidnapped and Trevor, and it is what it is. But I think overall, I can watch Iron Man 3 and enjoy it for what they were doing and stuff. It's coming off Avengers. We get the evolution even more of Tony and where he was at, and from him evolving as a character, coming off of that whole PTS thing with Avengers, and him trying to establish a relationship with Pepper and trying to get something going with a life. I thought it was pretty good. And as we get into these other MCU movies, whether it's Age of Ultron or whether it's Civil War and stuff, we get a continuing kind of, even Spider-Man Homecoming when we go into Phase 3, but in Phase 2 you get a continuation of this in Age of Ultron, which I'll get to in a minute. So, I thought the movie was fine. Like I said, I like Don Cheadle's Rhodey. He was great as Iron Patriot, War Machine. It was fine. So then we get to Winter Soldier, which to me, this was the game changer for the MCU. Because, again, point 3, Winter Soldier. Game changer for the MCU. And even the TV side of things, mainly with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Think about it in the aspect of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. up until Winter Soldier, it was an okay show. It had its moments. They were clearly establishing things. It was a bit shaky in the beginning. The plot twist in Winter Soldier with Hydra pretty much rang true throughout the rest of the MCU. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. played it up throughout their seasons and stuff. Season 1 was where the changeover kicked in high gear, and it kept it going and going and going. In the movie side, that twist with Hydra being S.H.I.E.L.D., it's everything if some aspects of Phase 1 make sense. Particularly with Gary Shandling's Senator in Iron Man 2, now you understand why he had such a hard-on to try to keep Tony Stark's armor secrets under lock and key by the government so that Hydra can get access to it. You understand those things. And what Winter Soldier did, past the twist and stuff, which was still great, and it's kind of pretty much like the twist in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Warriors book. If you ever get a chance to read it. It's great. You had the evolution of Cap. Winter Soldier is basically 2 years after Avengers, and you can see that Cap as a character has evolved in every aspect of himself, from his fighting ability. I mean, the opening scene on the Lumerian Star, where he's taking out all the guys, that gave you pretty much pitch perfect. Oh, Cap has improved greatly in his combat skills and the way he maneuvers through combat and stuff. It's great. It's awesome, and you even get a bit of his power level, so to speak, and how he handles people and stuff. He can kill people, but he's also just putting them down, and that's it. It's great. Even his fight with GSP, which is the most mobile you will ever see GSP ever. Great. Phenomenal stuff. And you see it throughout the whole movie in terms of how he handles certain aspects and stuff. Compared to, say, First Avenger, where when he took out that tank at the beginning, near the end of the movie when they're storming the Hydra base and stuff, he's using the motorcycle with the MacGuffin missiles to blow it up. In this movie, he's taking out a helicopter. He takes out one of those Quinjets by himself with his shield and just taking it out by himself, which you would never saw in First Avenger. So you saw that progression and stuff. Even past his combat abilities, you see his relationship with the various characters that he interacts with. Starting with Bucky. Bucky being the Winter Soldier. He's trying to get through to Bucky to remember him and stuff. Because, again, a lot of stuff from First Avenger with Arnim Zola messing with Bucky's head, and it comes full circle on that's the reason why he was fucking with Bucky's head, to kind of, in case he managed to get in contact with him and stuff. And Steve trying to get through to Bucky and stuff. And, and just that whole dynamic. Then you guys' relationship with Black Widow and the fact that, he's trying to understand why Widow is such a habitual liar, why she is the way she is and stuff, and they had that conversation in the truck and stuff. Even his relationship with Sam Wilson, who in this movie was great. Sam Wilson in the comic book is like this community organizer type of person and stuff, and I like that in this movie he's this person that helps out other veteran soldiers and such. We're talking evolution. I like the fact that they based the Falcon in terms of his suit and stuff based off the Ultimate Comics and stuff, where he was in the Ultimate Comics, I believe he was a scientist shield agent, and in this movie he's like a paratrooper that had like an experimental wing kind of paragliding tech and stuff. It was great and it was dope and stuff. Past the Hydra reveal with Project Insight, we get the little Doctor Strange teaser. It's just everything across that board from top to bottom was great. Even Nick Fury, and again his relationship with Cap. We get Sharon Carter. Early Sharon Carter, they don't really necessarily, we as comic book fans know that Sharon Carter, that's Peggy Carter's niece, but like the movie never really necessarily established that per se. It doesn't really establish it until Civil War, which I'll talk about that in the Phase 3 video because I'm still in the middle of Phase 3. I got like 3 movies left to watch. But anyways, everything top to bottom about Winter Soldier was great. Just the action was on point. Everything was great. Definitely worth the rewatch. Still holds up. probably one of my top 5 MCU films, period, and stuff. Probably one of my top 5 comic book movies, period. When I get to Civil War, I'll probably elaborate on why I think the Cap trilogy is like top movie trilogy of all time. So we get to Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy was a property that, unless you were reading comics, you didn't really have an understanding of the layout of the team. This Guardians of the Galaxy is a group that has different team members over the course of its history and stuff. You had the OG Guardians of the Galaxy with Yondu and Major Victory, but then you had the revamped one from when I started up reading the comic books and stuff around Civil War time. So this is around '07 and stuff. That had Peter Quill, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Drax, Gamora, Cosmo, Mantis, and all them. So in this movie, when they announced it, and basically the team layout was Peter Quill, Gamora, Drax, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. And you got Vin Diesel as Groot saying, "I am Groot." Great. Seeing Groot fully realized is awesome. But Rocket Raccoon and seeing what they did in terms of getting that character alive, I thought was great. I thought, what's his face? That voices Rocket. I'm dude from the Hangover movies. I forgot his name. He's great. Rocket Raccoon, just seeing him and his interaction and how he is just phenomenal across the board. Peter Quill, I think Chris Pratt did a phenomenal job as Peter Quill and stuff. A little different from the comics, but not too ridiculously far off. Drax is probably the only one that I can say in the movies up to this point, and I know I'm jumping ahead here, that I think it doesn't feel as though they really established his power set, because he's probably one of the most powerful people and stuff. Not crazy powerful, but strong and stuff. And I felt in this movie, if there's a handicap to the movie, is that Drax got kind of depowered. And I'll even extend it out to Ronan the Accuser, because one of the other, at least a negative of Guardians, was them killing off Ronan the Accuser, because Lee Pace did such a great job that when you look back at Captain Marvel, if you've seen it already, rewatching Guardians of the Galaxy, you're kind of like, I'm actually curious how Ronan goes from somebody that's part of the Kree Empire, and he ends up becoming this huge fanatic of it. Now, you get a part of that because the Kree signs this peace treaty with Xandar and stuff, and they're a little bit different than what they were when you see him in Captain Marvel. FYI, Kree have always been assholes from jump. Don't let the good ones like Captain Marvel and some of the other ones fool you that they always were good. No, Kree have always been dickheads and assholes and bad guys from jump. And the Skrulls were just emboldened because of the Kree shit. So I'll say that for Captain Marvel when I talk about Phase 3 and stuff. But anyways, everything about the movie was silly, and it matched up to the wackiness of Guardians of the Galaxy, just the property itself. And I thought it still holds up. Definitely, again, rewatchable, and you enjoy it. And you understanding why people love Guardians of the Galaxy, probably a little bit more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I get to again Phase 3 video. So, anyways, Guardians of the Galaxy, great rewatch. Now these last two, Age of Ultron, dope movie. One of the two small things real quick about that was, one, I wasn't a fan of them killing Quicksilver. I think he was probably a pretty good character in the movie and stuff in terms of how they showed his power set, which was like a 180 from what they showed him in the X-Men films, where apparently he has Speed Force powers and stuff, and I'm like, that's not how Quicksilver is. You look at Age of Ultron, that's Quicksilver in terms of his power set and speed and stuff, but that's small nitpicking. But I wasn't a fan of them killing off Quicksilver. And I think I feel the subplot with Thor and the Infinity Stones was a bit didn't need it. It felt pointless, and it just felt like exposition for no reason, just to give Thor something to do and not be on the farm with everybody, which I thought was kind of a missed opportunity, because you could show him interacting with people instead of just, hey, I got to go meet up with Dr. Selvig in London and go to this little river creek and stuff and get a vision of the Infinity Stones, which my father told me in Thor Dark World, whatever. Point of contention about that movie was the whole Black Widow and Banner relationship, which, I gotta be honest with you, I agree with Cap in the fact that Widow and Banner do deserve happiness. They do deserve a win, because you're talking about two characters who, you see with Widow, she was put through that whole program where she got, she can't have kids, she's just a mercenary, she's just an assassin and stuff like that, and that's all the life that she knew before she got picked up for S.H.I.E.L.D., and she kind of opens up to people and stuff. And you got Banner, who, well, I talked about in Phase 1 of the Incredible Hulk, Banner's been on the run and has never really found like a place where he can breathe. And he found a place to breathe when he met up with Tony and them in Avengers and stuff, but like he never had a happy thing. So him and Widow kind of having these two things in common, having these tragic backgrounds, and they get together. I thought it was fine. I thought it worked. Some people didn't. Whatever. I don't care. I thought the relationship worked. The movie overall was great. I think one of the aspects of it, and this is just something I want to say real quick. Now, when we get to Scepter, Tony says that there's a program, AI program in it, that's not necessarily that they can use as a basis for the Ultron program. And it got me to thinking that who put that AI program inside the Scepter? Was it Thanos? Because Thanos was the one that gave Loki that scepter. And the one thing I always sat there and was curious was, okay, who made the scepter and put that program in and stuff? Because we find out later in Age of Ultron it's the Mind Stone in it, hence why it worked the way it worked. But I'm still curious on how the AI worked, and you also have to factor in Hydra was using it to unlock the potential of the humans, hence why you got Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So the thing had multiple uses, but the AI in it, I was always curious of whether that was a byproduct of Thanos, because here's the thing. I always felt that there was a connection between those two, because if you look at Ultron, it felt as though the way he was talking, the way he was going about things, he was really trying to protect Earth from the threat of Thanos. Now, it was a bit over the top the way he was going about it, and a lot of his ideas got sped up. But you have to wonder who made the AI program. Now, obviously, Tony and Banner were trying to do the Ultron thing, but the AI thing that they saw in the Scepter was something that they could use to speed up what they were doing with Ultron, since they never had any success prior to that. So I'm oftentimes wondering if they can pick up on that plot point. But also, too, in the movie, there was a random drone that crashed into the helicarrier. Now, most people think that was whatever, but I feel that could lead to something. I'm hoping it does lead to something, but this is something that kicked in my mind. I feel Ultron kind of knew the stuff with Thanos was happening, and he was trying to prep humankind of it. Especially, think about it. He wanted to drop something and destroy humankind, and whoever comes out of it, they've evolved. And that kind of almost lines up with Thanos of, I'm going to snap and, hey, half the people are alive and everybody else is dead. It kind of lines up with that a little bit, but whatever. Then you got Ant-Man to end Phase 2, which was interesting because it could have ended with Age of Ultron, but it ended with Ant-Man. And I think Ant-Man was a pretty good way to end Phase 2, just because, one, establishing that Hank Pym was Ant-Man before Scott Lang, and he was working with S.H.I.E.L.D. as a scientist and doing occasional spy work and stuff as Ant-Man and stuff. I thought that was great to establish that. We get a young Michael Douglas, well, young because the anti-aging technology, but establishing him as Ant-Man and then really kind of positioning the movie around Scott Lang, I think was great. Hope having that relationship with Dad until he opened up, I thought was good, and I like the aspect that him opening up is what allowed her to finally rekindle that relationship with her dad. And also, over time in the period of the movie, I like that her relationship with Scott finally evolved from being kind of like, I don't like that guy, to, alright, he's an alright guy, whatever. And as we've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, their relationship kind of evolves and goes in a pretty good way. Darren Cross, I thought, much like Obadiah Stane and Iron Man, he's a corporate villain that's the opposite of Iron Man. Except this time he's Yellow Jacket, opposite of Ant-Man. And I thought it was great. I thought it worked and such. Continuing the theme from Winter Soldier, Hydra wants, the Ant-Man formula, so they're going to use, Darren Cross's thing. And I'm hoping that they pick up on that as well, because, you see one of the guys that was an ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. member take that formula and then bounce out of it during the chaos and stuff. Luis and the rest of the crew with T.I. and them were great. Thought they were good. The special effects for Ant-Man and especially the finale with him and Yellow Jacket shrinking and fighting on the little toy train set. I thought that was phenomenal and great. And even the ending with him being in the quantum world, I thought that was good. Just the atmosphere of it was great. And just the overall special effects for that movie was great, because I was always curious of how they were going to do the Ant-Man kind of world, so to speak. So there's that. Ant-Man, again, just like Age of Ultron, like some of the other movies, not Thor: The Dark World. Very rewatchable. Definitely enjoyable movie. You'll like it across the board. So that's my summation of MCU Phase 2. like I said, I got 3 more movies left to just rewatch, and then I'll do a video for Phase 3, and then boom, we're in the Endgame. So with that in mind, yeah, that's it. Peace.